Hi, Bio Kids. Today is your assignment for Wednesday, 9/23. We're going to take notes over 7.1 in your textbook. So there's a couple different ways that you can access your textbook. If you remembered my announcement in class yesterday and you brought it home, then go ahead and open to page 182 in your textbooks. If you didn't, or if you would prefer your ebook, let's get to the ebook together. Remember, you go to your bookmarks, McGraw-Hill, all the way down. You have to click on McGraw-Hill again, and my account is here. You are going to your biology book, which is right here. Let's go to the student edition. You can get to it a couple different ways. We're going to go all the way down to chapter 7. Of course, I can't find it. It's right behind my video, right there. And section 1. Click on ebook, and yay, there we are. Okay, so this is how to get to it on your ebook, but I actually recommend using your hard copy book because I know we've talked about this in class. It's just, for me, it's just easier to use the book. But if you like your ebook, remember you can always zoom in to it this way, and there's also different highlighting tools that you can highlight as you read, and you can make it whatever color you would like, okay? But for now, let's go back to I'm going to go back to our ebook, and I'm going to show you how I would take notes over the first couple sections. So remember, we are taking in Cornell version notes because I feel like they are the most successful tool for us. So remember, you want to completely set it up by, let's zoom out for a second. You're making your main idea page here, your questions and your sub-ideas over here, and at the end, you are making another line, and this is where you summarize everything, on that page. So remember, you want to title it so when you look back at your notes, you can find what one you're looking for very quickly. We are today going to read about cell discovery and theory, and today is 9/23. So let's read together. I'm on page 182, chapter 7, section 1. You always want to make sure you're reading the main ideas, and I always kind of read over all of the headings first before I read my textbooks. So I know, looking at the red, we're going to talk about cell discovery and theory. The main idea of this chapter is the invention of the microscope led to the discovery of cells. Real-world reading link: different parts of your body might seem to have nothing in common. Your heart, for example, pumps blood throughout your body while your skin protects and helps cool you. However, your body parts have one thing in common: they are composed of cells. Moving on to the history of the cell theory. So right away, I know, before I do anything else, that this subheading is going to be a heading in my notes. So the first thing I'm going to write under my main idea is history of the cell theory. And I always like to underline what I think are really important ideas. So I know everything that's going to go under this bullet point all has to do with the history of the cell theory. That's how I chunk up my specific notes. All right, back to reading. For centuries, scientists had no idea that the human body consists of trillions of cells. Cells are so small that their existence was unknown before the invention of the microscope. In 1665, as indicated in Figure 1, an English scientist named Robert Hooke made a simple microscope and looked at pieces of cork, the dead cells of oak bark. Hooke observed small box-shaped structures such as those shown in Figure 2. He called them cellulae, the Latin word meaning small rooms, because the box-like cells of corks reminded him of the cells in which monks lived in a monastery. It is from Hooke's work that we have the term cell. A cell is the basic structure and functional unit of all living organisms. During the late 1600s, a Dutch scientist, Anton van Leeuwenhoek, designed his own microscope after he was inspired by a book written by Hooke. To his surprise, he saw living organisms in pond water, milk, and other various substances. The work of these scientists led others to new branches of science and many new exciting discoveries. All right, so from that little section, we need to pull out what we think are important. Right now, guys, we should be able to break down things. For centuries, scientists had no idea the human body consists of trillions of cells. That's not important. It's kind of common knowledge. And two, it would be a waste of time for us to highlight that in our notes. It's good that we read it. It leads us up to what we're going to be learning about. Remember, you want to read your textbook like it's a really good story, or like it's a really good book that you are interested in. If you read your textbook like, oh, I have to read pages 182 through whatever, you're not going to absorb anything. So that's why I always like to read through it first. So then you're actually reading and absorbing the information, and then you're going back in and taking your notes from there. So we all know, so the cells are so small, their existence was unknown before the invention. Again, not necessary. The first place that I'm going to jump to is the name. One, I know this name is important because it's mentioned in our textbooks, but also remember it was on our timeline yesterday. So Hooke might be an important one to know about. So right away, I'm going to make another list. So I know that we are dealing with Robert Hooke, but I'm just going to break it down even further. I'm just going to write his last name, and I know that he, observed cork, and he actually made a simple microscope, and he observed cork, but I'm going to say that he coined the term cell. That's what we want to know from Robert Hooke. At least that is what I feel like our book is trying to tell us that they want us to know about Robert Hooke. Also, in this reading, we learned a vocab term. So right away, I'm going to make another bullet point, and I'm going to put cell. I'm going to underline it so I know that that is a vocab word. Cell is the basic structural and functional unit of all. And see how this says all living organisms? We learned in class that if something is an organism, it's alive. So I'm going to take out that word living, and I'm just going to write organisms. Now, I know a lot of you like to color code or go back with different colored pens. This, since I know that this is a vocab word, I'm going to go out of my way to highlight it to make sure that I know that this is important. Also, when I go back and I fill in my main idea column over here, I'm definitely going to pull out a cell. All right, let's go on. The cell theory. This is another subheading. So I'm going to, already in my head, I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to pull out from my notes. I'm going to make another unit about cell theory. But let's go on. Scientists continued observing the living microscope world using glass lenses. In 1838, German scientist Matthias Schleiden carefully studied plant tissues and concluded that all plants are composed of cells. A year later, another German scientist, Theodor Schwann, reported that animal tissues also consist of individual cells. Prussian physician Rudolf Virchow proposed that in 1855 that all cells are produced from the division of existing cells. The observations and conclusions of these scientists and others are summarized as the cell theory. The cell theory is one of the fundamental ideas of modern biology and includes the following three principles. All living organisms are composed of one or more cells. Cells are the basic unit of structure and organization of all organisms. Cells arise only from previously existing cells, with the cells passing copies of their genetic material onto their daughter cells. So, what I'm going to do here, because what makes the most sense to me, is our book kind of went backwards. They explained how we got to the cell theory and then explained the cell theory itself. You can do your notes however you want. Me personally, it makes more sense to me if I make another subheading here, the cell theory. I know that that's a vocab word, so I'm going to define it first. One of the fundamental ideas of an actually, I'm going to not do that. Do you see how when I do my vocab words, I stop them here so I know automatically my indent? I'm still dealing with that same vocab word. Fundamental ideas of modern biology. And instead of includes the following three principles, I'm going to say has three principles. Remember, these are notes. We want to make them as clear and concise for us when we're reviewing as possible. And then here, I'm going to write all three parts of the cell theory. After this, after I write the parts of the cell theory, I'm going to go back and I'm going to pull out those three scientists' names, Schleiden, Schwann, and Virchow. They're the ones that are credited with the cell theory. And then I would pull out those names and I would write them under the cell theory with each one of those discoveries. Remember, guys, at the end, you want to go back and highlight your vocab words. I know cell theory is a vocab word, so I'm going to go highlight that one. And on this side, you're going to pull out your main ideas. So really quickly, think that if you're studying for a quiz, what would you want to just look at really quickly to remind yourself? And then at the bottom, include your summary. I want you guys to read and take notes over page 182 through 186. After you do that, please take a picture with your webcam and upload a picture of your notes onto Canvas. If your webcam does not work, please do a text entry on Canvas letting me know that your camera doesn't work, and I will check it in class tomorrow. All right, guys, if you have any questions, my office hours are today from 11 to 12. I'll have a Zoom link on there that you guys can just hop on Zoom, ask me questions, and I can hopefully clear up any confusion. But also, I will be available during email or through email all day today. All right, guys, good luck, and I'll see you all tomorrow.